Thank you, Rita. Hello and welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. Murdered trying to protect his livelihood. Now the thief who killed Claudio Carol Condor is sentenced to life in prison.
You ignored his pleas to stop and callously murdered him, thereby not only depriving him of his life, but also taking a much-loved and hard-working partner away from her.
Mark Ross will serve a minimum of 30 years in jail. Also tonight, a charity warns children from deprived areas are being left behind after the COVID lockdown affected their development. The top chef who's given up commercial kitchens to cook at his local hospice in Scarborough. And we meet the 72-year-old runner who's become one of the fastest older athletes in the world.
And it stays chilly through this weekend. The best of the sunny spells on Saturday, a little more cloud around on Sunday. I'll have more details for you towards the end of the programme.
Good evening and welcome to Friday's Look North. A thief who killed an Amazon delivery driver who was trying to stop his van from being stolen has been jailed for at least 30 years. Claudio Carol Condor was dragged along the streets at high speeds as he clung to his vehicle to try to stop the theft in August last year. Mark Ross, who was described as a career criminal, had climbed into the van while Mr Condor was delivering parcels in Leeds. Nicola Rees was in court.
Well, in court today, the defence tried to persuade the judge to reduce that sentence, arguing that Mark Ross had shown remorse and had to live with the guilt of what he'd done. But the judge did not accept that. He said that he had repeatedly lied and that was not true remorse. He then went on to remind the court what had happened on that day in August last year. He said, "You seized the van. Mr Condor tried to stop you, but you accelerated hard. He was half inside the van, shouting for help, but you increased your speed and you ignored his pleas." We then heard an upsetting account of how Claudio was crushed and killed as Ross swerved the van deliberately into parked cars at speeds of up to 60 miles an hour. In his sentencing remarks today, the judge, Mr Justice Goss, said that he had chosen a life of crime and that day he was prepared to steal the van at any cost.
Although I cannot be sure you intended to kill Mr Condor, your actions must have terrified him in the last minute of his life, knowing he had to hang on to his speeding van or fall onto the road, as well as causing him considerable physical suffering as he was dragged along the road. You ignored his pleas to stop and callously murdered him.
We also heard today how Claudio was a man of integrity and hard work, and how he loved his job and he'd been saving up for years to buy his own van, and he just managed to achieve that just a few weeks before he was killed. A statement from his fiancée Mariana Georges was then read out in court. She said they had a beautiful relationship and dreamt of getting married and living a quiet life. She said she was still shocked and confused about what had happened, and she was waiting for him to walk into the house. Well, Mark Ross appeared emotionless and casual as the judge sentenced him today to life imprisonment with a minimum of 30 years, and he added that no court could ever undo the harm that he had done. Nicola Rees, BBC Look North in Leeds.
Next tonight, 5 years on from the COVID lockdown, there's a risk of a cohort of children being left behind. That's according to a charity supporting families in deprived areas of Leeds. Flourishing Families has told Look North that some of the children it works with who were born during the pandemic struggle with speech delays, reading and social skills. The charity says the pandemic widened the gap between those growing up in the most deprived areas and those in more affluent areas. According to research involving the University of York, the percentage of reception-age pupils who gained a good level of development dropped from 72% in 2018 to just under 59% 2 years later. Here's our social affairs correspondent, Emma Glasby.
A few miles outside Leeds city centre, a bit of a different school lesson.
Hello everyone, welcome to Storytellers.
These 5 and 6-year-olds were all babies or toddlers during the first COVID lockdown.
Our book is called The Cook and the King.
Today they're in a storyteller session at Cottingley Primary School with their parents.
Help, said the cook.
Run by the charity Flourishing Families, the aim is to boost the reading of children in parts of Leeds. Lockdowns came in their vital early years, a time of huge demands on their households.
It's really, really important embedding reading habits and finding that love of reading from birth. These children in the first couple of years of their life, due to parents having to work more, having lots of children at home, there's all sorts of reasons that meant they couldn't establish those patterns and routines. And we see some of the impact of that in children today, and that they end up being slightly behind in their literacy. They sometimes have speech delays.
Abigail was 1 when the first lockdown came. Her development was affected by a traumatic birth, but her mother tells me the COVID lockdown had a big impact.
It added tremendously because there was no interaction for her. So where she should have been learning from other people, especially at the age of 1, because it's learning behaviour, and she didn't have any of that. She had a 6-year-old sister and myself, and obviously I'm homeschooling a sister at the same time as trying to learn her things. So she became delayed through a lot of reasons, as mainly I'd personally say COVID.
At the other side of the city, a Play Pals session in Bramley in Leeds.
It's time to move your body to learn and play one more time.
Groups like this disappeared during lockdowns, leaving some children behind their peers in speech and development.
And another,
Play Pals was started by Flourishing Families to help children have more opportunities to play, develop and be ready for school.
Oh, we're going to be stuck.
The charity says the pandemic exposed the gap between those growing up in the most affluent areas and the more deprived areas.
And I think there's a huge and widening gap now, and I think that the pandemic exacerbated those inequalities. We see the effects now from the pandemic 5 years ago, but I worry for what we might see in another 5 years' time and another 10 years' time, and what the long-term effects of the pandemic could be.
Play Pals tries to ensure all children now get those opportunities to socialise, opportunities their older siblings may have missed out on.
My youngest was 4 months old when the first lockdown started, and we had no playgroups, no chance to go out and socialise with peers his age. So he missed a whole chunk of getting to know the other children. So with services like this available, they can make up for lost time on that.
The benefits of play and socialising were never more obvious than during lockdowns. Play is a human right and the value immeasurable. Emma Glasby, BBC Look North in Leeds.
Now you're watching Friday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme.
New teams, new rules, new season for Netball Super League. We're here in Sheffield with the Leeds Rhinos who face the Birmingham Panthers here tonight.
Some more news from around the region now, and a woman who died after being hit by a car on a driveway in Leeds has been named. 76-year-old Pauline Millwood got out of a car which then pulled into the driveway and hit her. It happened on Lee Mill Park Drive in Yeadon yesterday afternoon. A man has been arrested and released pending further inquiries. Any witnesses are being urged to come forward. 2 retired West Yorkshire police officers have been charged with historical child sex offences. William Baker, who's 78 and now lives in Cornwall, and Ian Hopkinson, who's 63 and from Redcar, are both charged with rape and indecent assault on a girl under the age of 16. They're due in court in May. Now, cars jammed down tight lanes and buses packed. That's the impact of 13 million people visiting the Peak District National Park every year. And according to some of those living there, it's becoming a major problem. Councillors representing the area are now demanding an emergency summit of authorities to tackle the issue. It comes as Derbyshire County Council revealed that nearly 2,000 parking tickets were issued on one stretch of road in the park in 12 months. James Lewis reports.
Bumper to bumper, visitors have been heading to the Peak District even during the winter months. The situation got so bad in January that the police in Derbyshire even had to shut some roads. The concern now is that will only get worse as the weather gets better.
Parking, blocking people's driveways so they can't get out, blocking access to emergency services. So the amount of car traffic is a really serious problem.
Joanna Collins represents one of the wards affected. She is now calling for urgent action.
Well, a plan for more public transport would be good. That means more funding, and that is essential, linking the Hope Valley with local towns and cities, as well as a proper strategy which all the authorities buy into.
And her feeling is echoed by those living here in Hathersage.
As you can see, it's Friday and everywhere is already full. It's not even a very nice day and we're already full. And it's great, I love people coming to the Peak Street and having a nice time in the outdoors, but there needs to be a solution because we're at breaking point, I think.
If I move my car, I immediately lose my space and I can't park back there. If I come back during the day, certainly at the weekends, I can't get parked and I have to park miles away.
The cars park literally like both sides, so we just can't access our house.
But there are walking spots like this one which have ample parking for tourists.
I think the locals, they've got the enjoyment of this place all the time. They've got it on their doorstep, they can come out into it all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean they own it. And I think everyone's got a right to be able to come up here and enjoy places like this.
Tourism contributes a lot to the economy in areas like this, so you kind of got to have the traffic to have the tourism.
The Peak District's National Park has told us they recognise the strength of feeling from people living here, while Derbyshire County Council said they're continuing to enforce parking. James Lewis, BBC Look North, in the Peak District.
Yes, let's hope a solution can be found. It is a beautiful part of the world. Now, a high-flying North Yorkshire chef has given up the commercial restaurant industry to cook for his local hospice. Tragically, 3 years ago, John Smith's son Seb died of leukemia. Seb spent his final days at St Catherine's Hospice in Scarborough, where John now dedicates his life to creating the best food possible for people at the end of life. Collar Fowler's been to meet him.
We all know how important good food is, but in this kitchen, every mouthful matters. Head chef is John Smith. He's owned restaurants, travelled the world, he's even cooked for the Queen, but he's chosen to be here, cooking for people at the end of life in St Catherine's Hospice in Scarborough. John gave up a successful career 3 years ago after his teenage son Seb sadly died of leukemia. The family spent lots of time at St Catherine's and John decided to change his life to help other families and patients.
It feels good to be able to give something back to people with the skill set that I've got. It's very rewarding. If people have a special request, we just go out of our way to make sure it happens really, because it's the very least we can do, you know, and if it brings just a small amount of comfort to somebody in the final hours or final days, then it's a great big thing for us.
Some of John's creations help to combat symptoms caused by pain medication such as nausea, but often it's the old familiar foods many patients recognise and cherish.
We wanted to make sure we were meeting nutritional needs, but also just give that little bit of warmth and comfort when people need it most. We do fresh tea infusions, lemon and ginger to help with irritable bowel and things like that. And we also do, like fennel seed and mint and fresh turmeric.
The on-site Flavours Bistro helps raise funds for the hospice so that patients like Jimmy can benefit. Jimmy passed away at St Catherine's last August, but was able to experience the foods he'd always loved in his final days.
John made him up some really nice milkshakes and it always put a smile on his face, and it meant so much because the time that we were spending with him, he got to actually enjoy it. Whether you just want fresh homemade cakes, or you want something exotic, something different. Your loved one, your family member is ill or is going to pass away like my dad was. And so the difference with St Catherine's Hospice compared to where we could have been just meant that we got that extra time that I will never forget.
Seb was just 17 when he died. But Dad John is honouring his memory the best way he can in the kitchens at St Catherine's. Carla Fowler, BBC Look North, Scarborough.
On to sport now, and the Netball League Super League season starts tonight with the Leeds Rhinos playing Birmingham Panthers, and it's all changed this year as the game moves towards professionalisation. Our sports reporter Sally Hurst is with the Rhinos in Sheffield and can explain more.
Welcome to the brand new relaunched Netball Super League. We are here in Sheffield at the Cannon Medical Arena where the Leeds Rhinos will play most of their home games this season. On court behind us, the under-23s. The first team are on shortly. Now this season it's all new. There are new rules, new teams, and they want to head towards professionalisation for the first time. So a little earlier I caught up with some of the Leeds Rhinos first team to talk about some of those issues.
Yeah, it's an exciting season. Teams have gone down to 10. We've got the super shot, which has been introduced, which means the last 5 minutes of every quarter, it'll be double points when we're shooting from further out. So hopefully we can keep those games tight, and it gives teams the capability to either push on or catch up to teams at the end of each quarter. So yeah, exciting.
So the idea is to add to that excitement and the drama at the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly that. It's a longer shot, so we're asking our players to step up and take shots from further out. So it should be a bit more exciting to watch as well.
And it's great that we're moving into that professional realm, as a lot of us have sort of spoken about, is a 10-year plan. So I think the main thing is that the sport is kind of evolving, but the things around it in terms of salary, resources, that still needs to improve. So yes, the salary is up this year, particularly for our rookie players in, but it's still not enough to live off. A lot of our girls are still working full-time or studying full-time, and that's where the difference needs to be able to be and label yourself a professional athlete, because you need to have your whole sole focus on your sport. I'm just excited to be part of it. I was a part of it in Australia when it went professional down under, and so to be here at the start in the UK, yes, I'm a bit of a relic. I've been around for a while, but it's nice to see these girls and hopefully they're able to get paid what they're earned.
A legend, not a relic. And Rosie, you are a Sheffield girl. You went to school in Leeds. It must feel great to be on home turf tonight.
Yeah, it's great. I was born in Sheffield, so it's great to be back. We were back here last weekend as well, and it was a really good experience. I think it's good just for the local girls to see it. Born homegrown talent as well, so yeah, it's really exciting to be back.
Well, good luck tonight and for the rest of the season. Thank you so much. Well, let's turn to some of the other sporting highlights this weekend, and one of the most eagerly anticipated matches of the season. It's the Sheffield Derby. It's Wednesday versus United at Hillsborough, and the build-up is well underway thanks to BBC Radio Sheffield's Football Heaven show. The Derby preview special still available on BBC Sounds, featuring former players Ross Wallace and John Fleck.
I'm going to go 2-1 Sheffield Wednesday. We'll be seeing Gaza's celebration if your prediction comes true. John, what do you think? Who's going to win the derby?
Yeah, I think I'm predicting the same result with the other team. I'll go 2-1 United. I just think there's a lot at stake in this game. Obviously Wednesday we'll be trying to nick in the playoffs, and obviously Sheffield United are going for the promotion.
And don't forget, in Rugby League, the Challenge Cup continues this weekend. 2 fixtures to look out for tonight. The Bradford Bulls play Salford Red Devils, and the Leeds Rhinos are away to St Helens. But for now, that is all from Sheffield here at the Cannon Medical Arena, where the Leeds Rhinos are about to get underway in the new Netball Super League season. That first centre pass is at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Sally, and we'll bring you the results on Look North on the late teams. Right, now a team of inventors, designers and engineers have all been busy beavering away in a shed on a North Yorkshire airfield. It's all part of a new TV show called Masters of Reinvention. Each week the team is challenged to update a vintage design to make it fit for purpose in the modern world. In a moment we'll hear from 2 of the inventors, but first let's take a look at them in action.
These are going to run through the wings and should give it some structure, rigidity. Hopefully.
That's one here. One of the first rules of project management is always plan ahead, as I always do.
Right, you ready? I'm going to line up at that end.
You right?
Ivan stuck to the plan.
Well, I'll tell you what, it looks a lot of fun. Ivan, if you can just explain, what were you stuck to there?
I was stuck to an aircraft wing, actually.
What can I say?
I mean, as you do.
What was that going to be?
It was going to be a model of a Luton Miner, which is an aircraft that we were making. Obviously, in the time we'd got, we couldn't make a real aeroplane, although we did have one on the show. But so we were making a model of it all together.
And Ruth, you were the lady with the glue there.
I was, yeah.
Just tell us a little bit more about what the show's about.
So it's all about taking Practical Mechanics, which is a magazine that many people will have got in kind of, from the 30s through to the 50s, 60s. And it had in there things you could make at home. And so we've taken some of those things that appeared in the magazines, some of the cars, some of the planes, some of the boats, and we're having a go at reinventing them, at making them for the modern age a little bit. So yeah, there's kind of a few time constraints and budget constraints, but yeah, the team are trying to give something a new life.
Oh, I like the sound of that. And you're both from an engineering background, but you bring different skills, don't you?
Yes.
It must have been great working alongside each other.
Oh, it was fun actually. And if you think of it, most things, everything from a jet engine to Microsoft, all started in somebody's shed. So the idea of this is to get people back in their sheds, building things and having fun. And I think what came out of it for us, although we're all different ages, different background, was actually the fun you can have just putting bits of scrap, as we were doing often, weren't we, in a shed, and how much fun it can be.
Absolutely, it's proper old school, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Now our younger viewers will know you from YouTube. This is quite different, isn't it? I guess this is an older audience.
Yeah, it's a mix, although I would love it. I think the way that the program's put together, you could come and watch it if you knew lots about engineering or if you were new to engineering. Hopefully it might inspire you to have a go at making, and you see all of that happen on screen, from choosing the idea to building it, and you come along on that journey, and hopefully you find it inspiring and you think, oh, I could do that.
Surprised how good brainstorming is, isn't it? And people, coming up with different ideas. And so often, he shows you say, oh, do not try this at home. This is just the opposite. We want everybody to try it at home. Go out into their sheds and build something, and how much fun it can be, just not only using your brains, but actually using your hands and learning new skills.
Well, it sounds fantastic. It's Masters of Reinvention. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And that's on at 8 o'clock on Monday on You and Yesterday. Now, finally tonight, 72-year-old retired teacher Dot Kesterton from Sheffield has become one of the fastest older runners in the world. After more than 40 years away from the sport, Dot is now winning gold medals as a Masters athlete. In 2022, she became the fastest female 10-kilometre runner in her age group. Mark Ansell has been to see her in training.
It's my drug of choice. The runner's high.
Aged 72, Dot Kesterton is showing a willful disregard for the ageing process. At the Masters World Championships in Finland in 2022, Dot became the quickest female runner aged 70 to 74 in the 10k distance.
It was beyond my wildest dreams. I just ran my heart out. And my husband shouted, "You're 30 metres ahead." And in the last 300 metres, I just had to pull out all the stops.
Dot actually quit running as a teenager after being publicly disqualified at a school's cross-country race. It was only in retirement, more than 4 decades later, that she was persuaded to go for a run with other women. Now she's trying to inspire others.
Don't start with racing. Start with a jog or a walk.
Dot trains with Sheffield's Virtual Harriers, some of whom are also elite older athletes who have represented England, Ireland or Great Britain at Masters level.
Keep upright, nice and upright.
Dot's coach John says she's an inspiration. Dot's running similar times now as she was a decade ago and has survived breast cancer.
Dot is very driven, bringing together like-minded people who want to work together, want to inspire each other, want to work off each other, want to encourage each other. And there's no doubt that within the group that happens. And Dot is a key player in that. Okay, group, well done. Great effort again today. Thank you for your effort. Good stuff.
I love that. I would say to anybody who's taking up running, try and run without smiling, because it can't be done. And if you're smiling when you run, United's good for you.
In October, Dot will be heading to the European Masters Championships in Madeira, hoping to bring back more precious metals to the Steel City in the cross-country, 10k and half marathon races. Mark Ansell, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
And I am sure she will. Now we have a runner in the studio this evening. Katerina, how's it going?
I wouldn't say a runner. Do you know what? I don't actually run normally, and I'm not a gym person either. I've just taken on this challenge to do the London Marathon, which is in about 6 weeks. So I'm on couch to 10k, and I haven't even reached 10k yet. So wish me luck.
You are amazing. Best of luck.
Even if I'm crawling at the end, it's fine.
Even the thought of it makes me want to sit down. So you're ahead of me.
Me too. Good evening to you. Well, we did have quite a bit of cloud out there today, as you can see from the first picture here, but our second photo really shows quite nicely how it did brighten up. We had good sunny spells out there, but also a few scattered showers. There were some rainbows. I caught one on my lunch break a little bit earlier today, which was lovely, and very similar through tomorrow, perhaps fewer showers. So thank you as always for sending in your pictures to us. If you'd like your picture on the telly, you can send it in via social media. The details are on your screen now. So through this weekend, it is going to stay quite chilly on both days. We're looking at frosty nights as well. I think the best of the sunshine is really going to be through Saturday. We've got an area of high pressure that's going to dominate not only over the weekend, but right through next week. And just a very quick heads up, Tuesday and Wednesday next week is looking beautiful. Lots of sunshine around, hardly a cloud in the sky. So through this evening, we're going to continue with those showers blowing in off that northeasterly breeze, drier by the end of the night, and temperatures due to that lack of cloud cover down to around freezing point. So your next high waters then, and very quickly, we have Whitby at 4:42 tomorrow morning. So a widespread harsh frost tomorrow morning. We'll get a few showers along the coast, but I think further inland it's looking mostly dry. Patches of cloud, actually good sunny spells around too, but it is going to stay quite chilly. We're looking at highs of around 8 to 9 degrees. I say chilly, but that's actually where we should be at this time of the year. Sunday brings a cloudier day. I think the best of any sunny spells on Sunday will be first thing in the morning. Monday could be quite a nice end to the day. Remember, the sun doesn't set until after 6 o'clock now. And as mentioned, Tuesday, Wednesday, lots of sunshine around. And by Thursday, we could be up to 16 degrees. What a treat.
Wonderful, Katerina. We'll hold you to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's it from us. Do have a lovely weekend. We'll be back with your late news and weather at around 10:20. Goodbye.